The monsters from Undertale were banished from the surface by humans, but they have been able to develop cities and towns underground. As you explore past the ruins, you come across an endearing town called Snowdon. It's here where I really started to question how I'd been playing through the game. The creatures were peaceful, they weren't beasts hardened by war. There were some creatures that were designed to look as you'd expect a monster to look like, and then there were these two, Sans and Papyrus. Sans loves puns and jokes, while Papyrus ambitiously strives to be cool and to join the royal guard. Oh, and he really loves spaghetti. It's so iconic in Undertale that I couldn't ignore it. If I were to really try to recreate Papyrus' spaghetti exactly, I would need to intentionally make it disgusting. Since he really wants to improve his cooking, I think it'd be much more interesting to see what his potential could be. What could Papyrus' spaghetti taste like after he gets better? If you flirt with Papyrus enough, he'll take you out on a date. It's here that he reveals his awesome artisanal silken spaghetti, finely aged in an oaken cask. Since he isn't a very good cook, he might have misunderstood what he had been told and just let some spaghetti spoil in a barrel. Noodles are not aged, but flour is. There are a few different kinds, and one of them is unbleached flour. This kind of flour has been aged naturally by being exposed to oxygen after being milled. Papyrus' cooking teacher Undyne says it herself, homemade noodles are the best, even though she uses store-brand noodles. With that being said, the key to Papyrus' potential spaghetti is to make homemade noodles, and the best kind of flour for the job is Tipo flour. Apart from Papyrus dabbing on some marinara on himself, he doesn't tell us anything else about the sauce. However, since Undyne has been teaching him how to cook, and she actually shows us how she makes the sauce, we can use that base recipe and improve on it. She does say that she's not a good cook herself, and it's no wonder that Papyrus still sucks. She presents us with some vegetables, a couple of tomatoes, a carrot, and what looks like to be a banana. The banana isn't needed. A simple tomato and carrot marinara sauce can still be made, but to make it more flavorful, we'll need to use herbs. Add flour to your workspace and create a small pocket for the eggs. Combine the flour and the eggs with a fork and then with a dough scraper. Continue to add flour to the dough as you mold and knead it until it's no longer sticky. Cover the dough in plastic wrap to allow it to rest for 30 minutes. While it rests, begin working on the sauce by coring out the tomatoes if you haven't already. Mark an X on the bottom of the tomato and place it into a boiling pot of water for about a minute. Work in batches if necessary. To finish blanching the tomato, place them into a bowl of ice cold water, peel off the skin and set them aside. Add some olive oil to a pot and begin sauteing the sliced carrots and onion first. Add salt and black pepper to the pot. Then add your chopped garlic after the carrots and onion become translucent. Place the fresh thyme and about 2 tablespoons of dried rosemary. Roughly chop the peeled tomatoes and add half into the food processor along with about half of the sauteed vegetables. Remove the other half out of the pot and into a bowl. Pulse the mixture until smooth and then pour it back into the pot. Pulse the other half of the tomatoes and sauteed vegetables and then pour them back into the pot as well. Bring the pot to medium heat and then add more salt and pepper. Throw in about 1.5 tablespoons of dried basil and fresh oregano. Add flour to your workspace and dough if it's tacky. To work in batches, cut the dough in half or quarters. Any remaining dough pieces you don't immediately work with need to be covered again with the plastic wrap until they're needed. Fold the dough horizontally or vertically before running it through the pasta maker on the thickest setting on 1. Don't pull, but guide the dough through the pasta maker and fold it in half. Run it through the pasta maker on the thickest setting about 13 times, adding flour to the dough if it becomes tacky or sticky at any point. After 13 times, run the dough through the maker on setting 2 for about 2 to 3 times. Change the dial to 3 and run it through the maker once, and then change the dial to 4. Repeat this process all the way down to about 6 to 8 depending on how thin you want your noodles. Use the noodle cutter attachment once the dough is thin enough and then add it to a pot of boiling salted water. The water should be like salt water. Cook the noodles for 2 to 3 minutes or when it's al dente. If the sauce is ready, add it to your plate of spaghetti. Hello and welcome to the end of the video. In this part I just kind of want to speak candidly about what I thought about the game and what the process was like going through the recipe. The game was a lot of fun and I really do want people to play it if they haven't already. I mean, realistically, who hasn't? I'm more than a year late to the game and that was because I had a lot of hype at the time and I get put off by things that have too much attention. I'm pretty confident in the marinara sauce and the noodles. I could not find any evidence of herbs that existed in the game. If given the chance, I would actually cook this pasta again, but modify it so that it would include escargot. It seems that snails are a very reoccurring theme in the game. Like your character gets enticed to eat snails at one point. I think it's at the snail track. Then there's the doctor, the scientist, who explains that she has this video game and at one point in the game, the main character is able to enjoy snail ice cream with her friends and it's supposed to symbolize friendship or something. And then you look into Toriel's basket and she has just a basket full of snails or maybe like a fridge full of containers of snails. It was either between Toriel or the king. I also would add fresh rosemary instead of dried rosemary, but unfortunately I just didn't have any on hand and the store was sold out. But yeah, if there are any other recommendations on how I could enhance the recipe without straying too far away from keeping it true to the game and what foods are available, just let me know. Or if you have a suggestion on like what game I should focus on next. The tomato and carrot marinara sauce that I made is by no means the best. I feel like everyone and their grandmother and their grandmother's grandmother had some kind of special tomato sauce that is supposedly the best they have ever tasted. And by all means, go ahead and use it. Even share it with me. I'll still try it out. So yeah, thanks for watching.